may not even remember his name unless you were around in about 1978, 1979, like I was with my brother Peter. I have a guy who is legendary, and when I mean that, there's only one way to rock. At that time, we were listening to a Sammy Hagar album, and as the song takes off, I'm like, wow, I love this. This is rock and roll. This is the best. Then sitting here before me is Bill Church, the Electric Church.
Bill Church on bass.
It's News Talk 580 1059 KMJ. Welcome to the Marc Kapetan Show. I'm attorney Marc Kapetan, your host. Today's show is brought to you by the Kapetan Brothers Law Firm, serving the Central Valley since 1995. If you or anybody you know has been injured in an auto accident, a truck accident, or a motorcycle accident, give us a call at 559-498-8000. Or if you've been arrested or cited for a criminal offense, call us 559-498-8000. Kapetan Brothers, we are the Valley's law firm. Well, I got to say something, folks. This is going to be probably the most significant day that I've ever had on this show, because today I have a guy who is legendary. And when I mean that, you may not even remember his name unless you were around in about 1978, 1979, like I was with my brother Peter, because at that time we were listening to a Sammy Hagar album, and there was made mention in that album of a bass guitar solo and a blistering, aggressively bad song called Bad Motor Scooter. And as the song takes off, I'm like, wow, I love this. This is rock and roll. This is the best. Then halfway through, the song breaks down, and my next guest takes over. He is in the groove. He does something that I've never heard on an album before. He does a bass solo. It is a driving rock and roll bass solo. And then Sammy yells to the crowd, my next guest's name, and it sounds a little like this.
Get on your bad motor scooter. Bill Church on bass. The Electric Church.
That's right, folks. Listen to this. Sitting in front of me, folks, is the guy playing that live. Bill, where was that done?
That particular time, it's hard for me to remember because we did it so many shows and it was in every show, so it's hard to say on that one.
Let me finish the introduction, because sitting here before me is Bill Church, the Electric Church, bass player for Sammy Hagar, Van Morrison, Montrose. It is a pleasure having you on the show.
Well, it's a pleasure being here, bud. It's so much fun to talk music, isn't it?
It's going to be a great time. And here's one of the reasons why. Let me finish with my intro, too. My brother Peter bought that album. My brother John had gone to college, and so now Peter was becoming my musical influence, and he bought that album, and we played it, and I swear to you, this is a special moment for me, because for years after that, we would walk around the house, and he would look at me like he had something really serious to say, and I go, what? He'd go, Bill Church on the bass, and I would respond, the Electric Church.
It's funny, too, because, people think that Sammy gave me that name, but he didn't. Actually, who gave me that name was Barbra Streisand's drummer, the great Scott Matthews, who, by the way, played on our Red album. And he's a tremendous drummer, tremendous individual. Oh. And when we got done with the session, Sammy said, well, how do you like working with Church? And Scott Matthews said, he's electric.
You're kidding me.
And I was that ever since, yeah.
I had no idea. I thought it was just one of those impromptu things.
Sammy borrowed it, and from then on, every show, that's how I was introduced. So.
Where was that recorded?
Abbey Road.
Wait a minute. Okay, and that was that's right.
Red
You're
album.
right. The Red album, it was recorded at Abbey Road. Do you know where the live show was done? Do you remember?
Charlton Athletic Field.
Charlton Athletic Field? Charleston?
Oh no, that would have been Montrose. Sorry, that was a Montrose show. No, I tell you the truth, I can't remember.
That's a folk right there, folks. That's called Years of Rock and Roll.
That particular album was interesting because the Sammy Hagar Band was in flux.
Right.
And that's why we borrowed Scott and we borrowed David Luark on guitar. And me and Sammy, and that was it.
You know, we're going to get into it, but I did notice listen, I do my homework, and I'm researching you, Bill, and I had all those albums back in the day, but I started going through them again, and I noticed a very, very big difference before that live album and then after that live album when some of the other ones, Standing Hampton and all those came out.
Absolutely. And there's a big reason for that. The live album was actually compiled from hundreds of live shows. Yeah. There wasn't one single live show like people think. It was compilations. Anything prior to that was John Carter's trip with Capitol Records.
Oh.
And then the big break for us came. In fact, it was the hugest break in Sammy's career at that time. We got to John Lennon had just did the first album, right. And we got Keith Olsen to produce it, and that was the second album done on what's his face's label.
Was it Geffen when you switched to Geffen?
Yeah, Dave Geffen.
Yeah, Dave Geffen.
Sorry, not what's his face. In my old age, David, I've forgotten your last name again. But that was a huge switch. And the changing from the Carter style of producing and all the producers he used that he delegated production to, way different than was with Keith Olsen.
Yeah, I noticed they were very, very tight albums. Not a lot of ambience, not a lot of energy as much as the later albums.
Yeah. We wanted a hit single, basically.
Right.
And he was coming off of the Rumors album,
right.
From Fleetwood, like a humongous album, right? And he was just ended up being the right choice.
But yeah, I get it. No, that's awesome. I mean, is it to get the hit single, to get the energy that you had on the later albums? And again, I'm rushing ahead, but to get the energy on those later albums, is the record label a big part of that, or is it just the right producer and the right band members?
Oh yeah, the record company basically has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I didn't know if you switch to a young, fresh thing like Geffen, whether they say we're going to let you go, all out and have at it, and that expands your energy and ability to get a hit single.
At that time, David Geffen didn't have a big roster. He had John Lennon. And he had Sammy Hagar. Yeah. So obviously he was watching every move, you know what I mean? But the key to it was changing producers and finding the right one, which we think we did.
Right.
I love John Carter, but all of those albums started to sound functionally the same. Songs were different, functionally the same, and Capitol Records didn't like some of our ideas where we wanted to go to record and
right.
stuff. Oh, we come to the tower and record and all this kind of stuff. And so it was just a great change.
All right, let's get to the beginning now. I think that in looking at the records that you've been on, the people that you've been playing, that you've played with, that to me, you seem to be one of the most recorded bass players in history. I mean, as far as in that rock and roll genre that you were, certainly one of the most in Central California.
Probably because I'm old enough to have done all that stuff.
Sorry about that. Where did
what the era we've been talking about? Yeah. Basically, the heavy metal, hard rock, basic era. Of course, I was doing it way before that.
All right, so where did it all start? When did you start?
Well, my very first band, I was in Europe. I was in Germany, to be exact. And I had a band that played the Blue Stars. we played at all the military bases in Europe had teen clubs and NCO clubs.
I used to go to the teen club. My dad was in the military. Your dad was in the Air Force at Ramstein, right?
Ramstein, yeah, in Germany.
Oh,
yeah.
see, listen, he said Ramstein, so you remember it from back in the day.
Well, spent 4 years there and went to high school there. And
what was the name of the high school? By the way, your baby brother Bobby told me a lot about you. What was the name of the high school? Do you remember?
Kaiserslautern American High School, K-Town for short. And the Blue Stars started it all.
Were you playing bass before that? Or what?
Actually, in that band, I was the guitar player. I was preferred guitar, but I played bass as well. And I was the guitar player and singer in the Blue Stars. What happened was you rotate when you're in the service, and my bass player, Hervey Stockman, rotated back to the States.
Right.
I was left out a bass player. There were gobs of guitar players.
Yes, we're a dime a dozen. Thank you for mentioning that.
And I used to tell them that too, when we just were choosing, But I was a bass player ever since then, So.
Okay, where did you get the influence to even pick up an instrument?
I would say that I like to sing. My mom was a singer. And I liked to sing, and I noticed that the people I liked accompanied themselves with acoustic guitar. As a child, I would listen, Eddie Arnold, Hank Williams, Everly Brothers.
So you were listening to American stuff even though you were back there too?
Oh, sure.
Any foreign stuff, European stuff that you were listening to?
While I was in England as a child, the two biggest things to the teenagers then were Elvis and Pat Boone.
Right.
So,
and it's so funny because the natural thing, people are probably out. That's okay. People are probably out there saying, "Oh yeah, the biggest thing over there was the Beatles," but we're talking before that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So yeah. Pat Boone was your influence.
In a large part, yes.
He was great. I loved him.
Elvis, much more so, of course. Hank Williams, Johnny Cash, Eddie Arnold, like I said. And then, of course, the thing that threw me into having electric guitars and electric basses involved was Les Paul Mary Ford.
Oh, yeah, boy.
My first bass hero, if you will, was Les Paul. And
yes, because he used to do bass lines along with the guitar.
All of his own bass lines, yeah.
Right.
And he was an exceptional bass player. And
James Jamerson?
Oh, of course, later on, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's true. That because you're talking before even James Jamerson.
Sure.
Yeah.
In his era, I listened to a lot of him, even in the heavy metal era, because Sammy is a huge Motown type guy. James Brown. He thinks he's the white James Brown. So.
How about jazz? I understand you love jazz.
Yes, of course. Once again, there's lots of great jazz players, most of them upright players, upright bass. I guess my friend Leroy Vinegar was a huge influence on me.
I don't know that name. Leroy Vinegar?
Leroy was in the Modern Jazz Quartet for 40 years. He also would play on a lot of Van Morrison records. The one song on St. Dominic's Preview that I did not play on, that's Leroy playing on it.
Okay, don't tell me it's not. Don't tell me it's Jackie Said, is it?
No.
Good, because I have that later on for people to hear, because that's one of my favorite songs. I love it.
It's the only jazz tune on the album. There's only one jazz tune on the album, and that's Leroy. The rest is typically Van Morrison.
Did you play pick or finger? And we're going to geek out a little bit, folks, for the audience out there. Some bass players play with a pick, some play with fingers, and I'm assuming you've done it both.
And others play with the thumb.
Oh, you play with the thumb?
The original Fender basses.
Oh,
all came with. They had a rest on the bottom for resting your fingers and playing with the thumb, and a rest on top for putting your thumb and playing with your fingers.
Yeah, right.
So there's three ways of playing, and just so you know, I don't like playing with my thumb.
Okay. So you were a pick or a finger player?
In the rock, the hard rock genre, mostly a pick for attack. But for example, I would never use a pick on a tune like if I was with Van, for example, doing Moon Dance, for example, would be finger picking.
Well, that's what threw me off a little bit, because some guys are just purists. They want to either do the finger or nothing else. And I noticed the difference between when you were playing with Van Morrison, that you did have that softer sound of a finger. But I thought, gee, that can't be the same when you're doing I Can't Drive 55 and stuff like that with Sammy Hagar.
No. Yeah, with the heavy metal music, you want that sharp attack. Just like the snare drum, the drummer wants that thing to have a sharp attack. You want that really sharp attack. And what you do when you're flat picking is you use this side of your hand across the bridge from muting.
Right.
And other techniques.
Right. No, I understand that, yeah. First base was a Hofner, maybe, from Germany?
Actually, it was from Germany, but it was a Framus.
Oh, Framus, of course.
Yes. It was a puke green Framus.
Puke green.
It wasn't a very good bass, but that's another story about the Blue Stars. What we decided to do is to have matching blue uniforms and matching blue guitars. So all the Hofners that we went to were all matching baby blues.
Oh, dapper, very dapper.
Yeah, indeed. And the reason for choosing that style was because we couldn't afford to buy Stratocasters, and they looked just like a Stratocaster. The Hofners that we used did, and we just couldn't afford Stratocasters. And of course, the reason I wanted a Stratocaster was because of Hank B. Marvin of the Shadows.
Geez, you're throwing out names there. Yes, the Shadows, of course.
One of my major guitar influences in my life. When I was in Germany, the hugest thing happening for the first 2 years were the Shadows. They would have 4 songs in the top 10 at the same time and everything else. The last 2 years of my stay in Germany, the biggest thing were the Beatles.
Oh, of course.
So those are my 4 years in Germany. Those are the 2 biggest influences I had right there.
In 1964, I gave you a few years there, but in 1964, you graduate from K-Town High School.
K-Town Raiders.
Yeah, the Raiders? Is that what they were?
Raiders of K-Town, the Rhine High Raiders.
And you get a graduation gift of a ticket back to America.
Indeed.
Tell me about it.
The ticket back to America. Well, it wasn't much of a ticket. I mean, we got on the bus from Ramstein, taking us up to Rhine-Main, up in Frankfurt, where the plane was going to take off. And as I sat in the bus, I watched myself pull away from all my friends, all my band members. Bye. Yeah. See ya. Gone.
Did the family stay behind and you just went by yourself? Oh, they came with you.
Yeah, everybody came.
And you eventually, I understand, moved to Reno and you form another band.
Yeah. Fast forward, I spent a year in Omaha trying to put a band together with not much luck. Omaha was a very backward city at that time and stuff, and there were only 2 or 3 clubs anyway. And so I decided to come to Reno. So guitar, suitcase, amp, on the Amtrak, over the Rockies, up to the Sierra, and as soon as I saw Reno, I knew I was in the right place, because at that time it was when they had all the really nice neon lights, the good lights, not
where all the
clubs
are.
Lights.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the real neon. And in those days, the train stopped right on 2nd Street. In Reno.
Wow.
And you got out and you're looking at Fortune 500, well, all the clubs, and it was real neon then. And I actually had 2 bands there. The first band I was in was a band called The Strangers, which I formed with the notorious, world-famous Floyd Rose.
Folks, Floyd Rose invented a lockable whammy bar, basically, that Eddie Van Halen used, not on his first album, but actually used later on. Floyd Rose was the inventor of this thing that is sold hundreds of thousands, if not millions, who knows?
Certainly millions.
And so you were in the band with Floyd Rose, wow.
Here's an interesting story about the locking tremolo. The Sammy Hagar band was struggling to get going. We were doing it, but we weren't making any big money or anything. And we were in Seattle, and Floyd came up to my room. He says, I want to show you something. Excuse me. So he came in the room, and he's got the Stratocaster, and it's got nuts and bolts up here like on a car, you know.
Right.
Nuts and bolts down here, and I'm looking, he says, now you just watch. So he tunes it up, plugs in, and then he goes nuts on the whammy bar, right? And then when he's done with the 10-minute just hammering that thing, he stops, and it's just perfectly in tune. I go, wow, that's crazy. And he goes, yeah, watch this. He goes, do anything you want. Take it. Just try to yank the dang whammy bar off. Well, in the end, he was up there. What he wanted is he wanted me to invest $25,000 for a half interest in it. And I could have got the 20. I didn't have the 25,000, but I could have got it, right? And I passed on it, and I said, you know what? I hate to pass on it because something's going to happen. I just know it. Oh. I said, let's go up to Sammy's room. Sammy passed on it too, and he, of course, had cash money for it if he wanted, so he passed on it too. I
had no idea about that.
Isn't that a weird story? Yeah.
The decisions we make.
And then here's another funny story about Floyd real quick, because his band Q5 up in Seattle and stuff, and every time we'd go to Seattle, I'd see him, of course. And so the next time we're up in Seattle after his tremolo unit was out on the market, he's going to drive down to the hotel to show me his brand new Lamborghini that he just bought, right? So he comes down to the hotel, downtown Seattle, right? Parks down the garage. And we have drinks and stuff. And he says, okay, let's go for a ride, right? And this car is brand new. He just got it that day even, you know? So we go down into the garage, right? We get into it, and he turns the key. Thing won't start. It just won't start. Oh boy, it was great.
So you could have, for $25,000, you could have had a Lamborghini that didn't start either.
Boy, isn't that, that's one of those mistakes that a lot of businessmen make.
Yeah, I get it.
It was just not the right time, and
it was a crazy idea. I have one of the original ones that doesn't have the fine tuners on it. It's got to be a vintage piece right now. Yeah. So what was Justice 5, and what was your connection with Edgar Winter and all that? How did that all come about?
The Justice 5 was the next band I was in Reno. They were already an established band there. They were the biggest band in town. And they actually, what happened was they got drafted and had to go to the National Guard for a couple of years. When they came back, their bass player had found a better job and didn't want to reform. And so they asked me if I wanted to, and it was a better opportunity than what I was doing with Floyd. The music and the band I had with Floyd was okay, but the Justice 5 was a step up, so I signed on with them and spent 2.5 years with them. We had a single that got some airplay. Things get a whole lot worse before they get better.
Was that the connection with Edgar and Ronnie Montrose and Chuck Gruff and all that kind of stuff?
No. What happened was there's a third band involved in Reno.
Okay.
At the tail end of the Justice 5 was starting to tend to be a casino band.
Okay.
And so we started to lose desire and direction. And so I started a trio. And John Sanchez and Chuck Ruff on drums. Chuck was only 16 at the time.
Oh, wow.
And we knew that progressive hard rock trio style is not going to go in Reno. We had to go to a major venue, right? So we moved to San Francisco.
Oh, wait, so what year is this now?
That would be 68, beginning of 69.
Oh, so right around the Summer of Love.
Yeah. And well, that's how I met Chuck. And then
who later was the drummer for Montrose, right?
Well, there's a North story in between that. That band was called Wheat Straw Bluegrass from Reno.
Okay.
And after we disbanded, Chuck joined another band called Sawbuck in San Francisco. And their bass player quit to go to Canada to be with the Great Whackers. If you've ever heard of the Whackers,
No.
a great Canadian band. Anyway, Cooch went to Canada to be with the Whackers, so Sawbuck's without a bass player.
Right.
So Chuck calls me up, so here I come. And the members of Sawbuck, Mojo Collins, Star Donaldson,
From JoJo Gunn.
And who also played the lead role in Hair.
Oh,
the musical
that's
Hair.
right.
And Mojo Collins, Chuck, me, and Ronnie Montrose.
Ronnie Montrose, the great Ronnie Montrose.
And that was Sawbuck.
Okay, somewhere around this time. Now, I understand that as you're in San Francisco, I mean, you're in the heart of it. You're living next to Janis Joplin and a bunch of other stars?
Sort of.
Is that baby brother Bobby talking?
Yeah. It was interesting because we lived in the heart of the Castro district, if you know the Castro district, where all the men are men. And,
yeah. Politically incorrect to say these days, but yeah, I get it. Yeah.
We lived in a real famous house, Thin Blue, and it was on 18th Street. And ironically, it was on 18th between Church and my guitar player at the time from Wheat Straw, John Sanchez, and Sanchez Street, Church Street on 18th Street, Thin Blue. And that's where some of the guys from Santana lived there with us at a certain point. Trackstad, this really up-and-coming band that never really made it.
I don't know that one,
there.
yeah.
A lot of famous characters were in that house. Here's a really funny story. Late one night after a Fillmore concert, Buddy Miles brought a guy over to meet everybody at Thin Blue, Jimi Hendrix.
Oh, Jimi Hendrix! Yeah. Wow.
And he stayed in there for several minutes, shook hands with everybody. Then him and Buddy left.
At the time, already famous. Right?
Yeah. I mean, just right there, he didn't live long enough to
after
do
that.
anything else, right? But that was a really interesting house, Thin Blue. The other person who used to hang out there quite a lot was Annie Leibovitz.
Oh wow, no kidding.
Yeah, would come over there to get.
So you're friends with all these people, basically.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and in the San Francisco area, of course, Bill.
Well, let me ask you: was you're talking Bill? Bill Graham, right? And so, and I understand that Bill Graham is maybe it gave you some hookups later on with Van. I'm going to get to that though. Let me move. At some point, and I think we may have passed it. Was there a battle of the bands that you won back in the day? That got you a record contract?
Yeah, that was Wheat Straw Bluegrass, the band. That was the trio that I had Chuck Ruff on drums in. We did a battle of the bands, and the first prize was they're going to put out a single. And so that was Wheat Straw's single.
Okay.
Verily, verily, backed by a world that's tight. 50 years later, I dug up a copy of it for my son. And my son thinks it's the greatest thing ever.
It's the actual album of the record?
Just the single itself. It's just a 45.
And that was the recording, quote-unquote, contract or whatever that you got for winning this. Yeah. And I understand it was a 4-state battle of the bands?
The judges had a huge hit single that John Carter had written, Incense and Peppermints.
Oh, my gosh.
The Strawberry Alarm Clock, they were the... judges, and the one guy I met and talked with for a long time was Ed Davis, who went on to be in Lynyrd Skynyrd, of course. All
right, I got to get a copy of that recording. I got to listen to this. At some point, Bill Graham does a hookup, but I want to open this segment this way. I read Ted Templeman's autobiography over the past few weeks, not in relation to this. It's just purely happenstance.
Different era.
I was blown away. Ted Templeman, folks, one of the most famous producers from back in the 70s and 80s. I mean, he did them all, including China Grove.
The Dubes.
Yeah, the Doobie Brothers,
and it's Ted
Van Halen, everything.
It's Ted Tempo Man, by the way.
He insisted on good tempo. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, he was the greatest.
Well, I gotta say, he spoke very highly of you and gave you several mentions in that book. I mean, it's almost like you were his man. How did the connection between Bill Graham, Ted Templeman, you, and Van Morrison come about?
Okay, that's a good question. We were talking about the band Sawbuck. We had an acoustical offshoot of that band called the Corn Brothers. We did a lot of really cool shows. We used to play live on Tom Donahue's show on KSAN.
Right.
And well, first what happened was Ronnie, Bill, let me back up again. Bill Graham was Sawbuck's manager.
Oh.
Actually, Bruce and Jeff, his flunkies, sorry guys, I didn't mean that, were our manager, but it was Bill Graham, right? Bill Graham Records. And that's the record came out on his label. And then later on Epic. But Ronnie went over to Bill's office, and Bill said, you want to go audition for a guy who's making a lot of money? And Bill wouldn't tell him who it was. He just said, you better go audition. And so Ronnie did, and it was Van.
Oh, wow.
And so Corn Brothers were playing at Keystone Corners, and Ronnie brought Van down there, and that's when I got to meet him. And in Corn Brothers, I played mandolin. Wasn't a this was an acoustic band. 3 guitars, mandolin. And that's where I met Van, and when he found out when Ronnie, of course, told him I was mainly a bass player, right?
Right.
He just said, okay, come with Ronnie to practice next time.
No kidding. Just like that. Not even seeing you play bass.
That was it.
The guy was, Van Morrison was already famous by that time.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely famous. He was had already done the Moondance album, and then the album after that, Street Choir album, that was his last album on the East Coast.
Right.
And is absolutely already famous. As I said before, his early records had heavy metal players on Jimmy Page.
Yeah. Yeah, you were saying before we started recording, Jimmy Page was one of his...
Mystic Eyes and Here Comes the Night solo, and Here Comes the Night has Jimmy Page.
So what did he like? You think he liked that energy of a rock and roll player, even though he was playing a little bit...
No, that's what's ironic about it. Years later, well, not years later, the Led Zeppelin album comes out, right? And I bring it up to Van, and I play it for him. He took it off, so listen to that kind of crap. He hated electric guitar.
Really?
Heavy metal guitar. Heavy metal guitar.
Right.
That's why Ronnie didn't stay in the band.
That's right. He did eventually leave, and it was, I get it. He was trying to get harder and harder.
You want to hear that story?
Let's get into it, but I want to talk about you with Van Morrison real quick, because we are going to talk about Ronnie leaving the band. At some point, you get, just based on Ronnie's recommendation, you start practicing with Van Morrison, and leads up to this recording right here.
Chivalry.
It's a good one, isn't it?
It's a beautiful one.
It's a really nice song. It's, of course, Ronnie's playing on it is minimal, and Van plays the other guitar part. The cool players on that song, well, the coolest guy on that song has got to be Connie Kay. He taught me some tricks about jazz that I had never known all my life.
Connie Kay was what?
The drummer.
The drummer.
He was, his band with Milt Jackson, the Modern Jazz Quartet, was together for 60 years before they started to drop. You know what I mean?
Right.
But Connie Kay was just an incredible drummer.
Well, I got to say, to me, when I'm listening through this stuff and preparing for this, the cool guy on the album, or on that song, was you, because I forgot how pronounced the bass playing is on the recording.
Yeah. Just like I said, Van did not like guitars washing everything up. He was a guitar player himself, so it wasn't that he didn't like guitar. He just didn't like heavy metal guitar.
From reading Ted Templeman's autobiography and listening to these songs, I realized something, and I don't know if it's your jazz influence or not, but even on Tupelo Honey, if I were to play bass or think about writing that song, the bass line would be this very basic thing. And you're known as an extremely solid bass player, whether it's rock or anything, but you seem to flow around and play around with the chords and hit the notes in these chords. One of a mutual acquaintance of ours, Kevin Sandlin, had from here in Fresno, had said, the reason why I love Bill Church's playing is because he plays around the chord instead of playing the root note.
With it, yeah.
And it shows on that album.
Yeah. Of course, bass is a really important thing in Van's bands. And because my duration with him, the bands were always changing. We'd one tour, the band next time around is going to be different people. Right. And you would notice from the live shows that the bass holds the show itself together. And because I was after a year with him, I was the veteran in the band. So I became basically the band leader because Van was not a band leader type guy. Van never practiced with us.
That's what I understand from the autobiography, Ted Templeman's autobiography. Yeah. Basically, the recording session would be all you guys in there practicing. All of a sudden, sometime throughout the day, Van would walk in, and instead of saying, let's rehearse this song, he would say, turn on the recorder and start playing.
Let's go.
And even if he's doing something totally unexpected, it goes down on tape, and that's how it is.
Yes. He would never do more than 3 takes. Now, you can imagine Led Zeppelin, it takes them a year to do the album. How many takes per song they're going to do to take a year? Van would never do more than 3 takes. And there's proof of that because in one of the songs, I think it's like a cannonball, if I remember correctly. But anyway, the point is that I made a bass mistake. Mm-hmm. And afterwards, I went into Van and said, I need to fix that note. He says, you're not fixing nothing. That's the way we played. He says, did you ever make a mistake live? Well, I mean, come on.
Okay, what's funny is because Ted Templeman, when he later produced Van Halen, I would hear mistakes. And when I went to do my first album back in 1982, long after this, if there was a mistake, I always wanted to leave it in, and I called them beautiful mistakes. And not because they really were beautiful, but because, and even when I produce albums now, and I tell the players, they go, I want to fix that. I say, no, we're not going to do that. And they insist they want to fix it. And I say, you don't get it. 30, 40 years from now, you're going to hear that song, you're going to hear that mistake, and it's going to transport you back to the studio where you were. Does it transport you back when you hear that?
Yes and no. It transports me back to where I would say, fix the note, man. Nowadays, more than likely, they're going to fix everything because they have the capability to do it quickly. But it takes something out, doesn't it? With a guy like Van, see, his entire trip is based upon feel. One time at Winterland, he lit up a cigar, and we're vamping, and he just paced back and forth for 20 minutes. 20 minutes. And when it was done, the freaking people went nuts because he was a guy that was all about feel. It really was. You had to really watch him as a band leader when you're playing live.
All right. Listen, something like that is a little bit out there. Is it he does it on purpose because he knows the moment's right and he's going to go with it, or is he just a little out there?
No, he is an incredible musician, and he knows how to make tunes work.
Yeah.
He sings just like a saxophone plays, and by the way, he plays saxophone and harp. He's a really good harp player and guitar, but he's just an incredible singer. He's a jazz singer. You know, people don't, if you asked Van, he would say, I'm a jazz singer. He's a jazz singer. His interpretations, and all I can do is that the way he sings reminds me of a really good sax player.
Hey, you know, it's interesting that you say that because he does that. Even on the end of that song, he's almost riffing. Yeah, his voice is almost riffing like it's an instrument, a solo instrument. Yeah. You do another album with him, and this is one of my favorites from back in the day. From St. Dominic's Preview, it's Jackie Said. And there you are, buddy.
To this day, it's the 7th inning stretch song at the Oakland A's.
To this, you know what? You are right. It is the 7th inning stretch song. Wow.
That's the coolest thing, because my kid, when he was younger, we went to a lot of A's games, being East Bay Grease at that time anyway. Went to a lot of A's games, and it was great to hear that.
To have your son sitting next to you at an A's game and say, son, that's me on the base.
And of course, the reason for the song is because that's one of Van's idols. He loved Jackie Wilson.
Yeah. And I'm assuming that
Another
just fit
guy
in.
that sings like a horn.
And I'm assuming it fit right in with you doing that stride bass like that, just walking around that bass.
Yeah. And with a semi-shuffle to it,
Yeah.
It was great. And, I'll say one other thing about Van. First of all, I don't call him Van anymore. I call him Sir George.
Sir George?
He was knighted last year.
Is his real name George? I didn't know that.
Yes, George.
Oh, I didn't know that.
George Morrison. He is now Sir George Ivan Morrison.
Yeah.
And people often ask me, what's the greatest show you ever played? I get asked that a lot, you know what I mean? What's the best show you ever played? Well, I'd have to say that it was Carnegie Hall with the Van Morrison Band.
Carnegie Hall.
Real magical with Chuck Ruff and Ronnie Montrose and Dan Hartman from the Edgar Winter group standing in the sidelines. I sent my limo over to pick them up, to bring them down because obviously Edgar Winter's not going to play Carnegie Hall.
But that's a good feeling to be able to send your limo to go pick up those guys.
Yeah. It's a little bit of jealousy because Carnegie Hall is the place.
Right.
I mean, it's the oldest entertainment joke in the world, right?
Right.
When the tourist comes to New York and asks the guy, how does he get to Carnegie Hall?
And at that point, Montrose...
You know what he says, right?
What does he say?
Practice.
Oh, practice.
The oldest show business.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see that lead up. I'm sorry. I missed it. I'm sorry. I was thinking about you sitting there playing on stage with Montrose, Edgar Winter, and Chuck Ruff watching you. At some point, though, Montrose leaves Van Morrison, and I'm assuming that's around this time,
Yes.
and he's now in the Edgar Winter group, right?
Yes, he's in the Edgar Winter group. We go back home. I'm still in Van's band. We go back home, but we're on a break. In fact, a year-long break because Van was sick of it. But anyway,
and is that how you left? I mean, because that was your last album, St. Dominic's Preview.
No. Yeah. Basically, that's how it worked out.
Right.
Ronnie called up and said, "I'm coming home. I'm going to start a band." And I was still in Van's band, but we weren't going to go out again for another 8 or 9 months, even if that. You know?
But I mean, how do you get the guts to say I'm leaving Van Morrison's band?
I didn't. The final end to that was when he decided he was. I went up to the studio to get something. Van had a studio at his house in San Anselmo. And he was in there jamming with Jesse Colin Young's band.
Oh, so he's basically replacing the whole band.
Yeah. Except when Jesse got pissed, and so everybody went back to Jesse except for Dave Hayes, and
Okay.
Dave Hayes was Van's new bass player. But that was beside the point. I was already making plans to play with Ronnie. Luckily, it worked out because in the beginning that might not have worked out.
So
I was not the first choice.
Oh, really?
For Montrose.
Who was the first choice?
He didn't know. Obviously, being best friends, I was the obvious choice. But he and I had played so many bands together, and there's things happen.
You're gritting your teeth.
Well, things happen between people when you play a long time with them. You know. I mean, everybody eventually breaks up or something, that kind of thing, But anyway, no, he was going to try out people. So he would. It's funny because you're going to try out people at SIR, Studio Instrument Rentals in downtown San Francisco.
Right.
So every morning he'd come pick me up, And we go down there, and I'd sit there while he's trying out bass players. And he drove good ones. Ross Valerie, Andy Fraser.
Oh, wow.
Pete Sears.
Yeah.
And then one day I go, hey, he called me up. You want to go down there? I go, I'm tired doing this. He's like, you got to come down there. I'm tired. So I didn't go down there. Next day he called me up and says, well, I decided who's playing.
That you're playing. Hey, folks, it's Marc Kapetan. Are you looking to grow your business or stay informed? The Business Journal delivers local exclusive business news you won't find anywhere else. Subscribe now at thebusinessjournal.com or call 559-490-3481. Subscribe. I do.
Yeah,
you know, is it between having Van pick a whole new band and go through musicians left and right and stuff, and between eventually, which we'll talk about here once we get into Montrose, Sammy, all that kind of stuff. At your age now, and I hate to say it that way, but all these years later, is there a resentment, or do you realize we're like brothers? Musicians are like brothers. We fight, we go away from each other, we come back, we hug each other. You know, do you get that sense?
There's fights, and there is resentment, but in the end, you still are all part of the same thing. Look at everybody fights. I witnessed, Montrose, Sammy Hagar Band, Montrose opening for The Who at Madison Square Garden. And The Who comes off, and Pete and Roger start to fisticuff right in the hallway.
Right there.
Yeah.
You opened up that show. That was one of your shows, Madison Square, right?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So, yes, the band, there's animosity in there.
Yeah.
But,
it's a product of the road. I mean, I've been on the road with Tesla and stuff, and it's a product of... you're stuck on a bus, especially the buses back then, and you're stuck on a bus for months at a time with these guys.
Oh, it's worse than that. Look, we paid dues. I drove a rent-a-car for the first 3 years before we could even afford a bus. And of course, the only way I'd ever go on the road now is in a Commander.
Right.
You know
right, exactly right. I get
no
it.
buses either. No.
So it's now 1973. We're working our way up, and this comes out. Space Station number 5 by Montrose. By the way, I've always loved that opening little thing you do on the bass there. I love it. Space Station number 5, Montrose's 1973 breakout album. It featured Space Station number 5, Rock Candy, which is every cover band's favorite, Make It Last, Rock the Nation. It was a seminal album, and it's you, Sammy Hagar, Denny Carmassi, and Ronnie Montrose.
Yeah, and of course Ted.
And, the fifth member of the band, right?
Yeah, basically.
Ted Templeman, the producer.
Yeah, no question about it.
And it was Don Landy also there?
Great story. Don Landy turned tape.
He turned tape, meaning he was the engineer. He was also the engineer of Van Halen and a ton of other great bands.
Produced Van Halen.
And eventually produced Van Halen when they got rid of Ted.
Left, right? After Ted bailed.
They were a team, and you were probably one of the first hard rock bands that he really did with that team.
We like to think that we were the first American heavy metal, not hard rock, but the first heavy metal American guys.
Period. Not with Ted Templeman. First heavy metal. Period.
That's how we like to look at it. Then
I absolutely agree with you. That album. It's funny because when I heard your name on that Sammy Hagar live album with Bad Motor Scooter, I go, wow, that's Sammy Hagar. What a great song that is. And I didn't realize until years later that it was a Montrose song. And that's sort of the rough part about that album, Montrose. It formed the basis for every heavy metal band thereafter, yet it took about 10 years for people to recognize that.
To do that, yes. It was not a successful radio play album.
Not at all.
In the beginning. And it was not a big seller in the beginning. We toured behind it, and then of course, well, first of all, Montrose was only 18 months long, so boom, it was about ready to blow apart, right?
Right.
When all of a sudden
It blew apart.
right,
Yeah.
I'm not in the band anymore, and
What
I
happened?
already knew that Sammy wasn't going to be. I knew Sammy wasn't going to be from the day we had a dispute with our first manager, D'Anthony, the notorious Uncle D. You sign a contract for 20%, he takes 50%.
Oh,
but anyway, the story, we go to his office.
Hey, I got to say, as an attorney, allegedly, let me just put the caveat in there, okay?
So
I don't know if Dee's still around, but let's just put that caveat on there. Okay.
At his time, he and Frank Barcelona were the two most powerful people in rock and roll music. Frank Barcelona produced all the shows, and D'Anthony had all the bands. Wow. Everybody, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, on and on and on and on. Humble Pie, on and on and on. But we came into his offices one day, and we're saying, well, basically, we want some money, right?
Right.
You know, where's all this extra, you know, you've already got your 20%, where's the rest of the money? And he goes, well, you know now how we operate around here. And then he turned to Sammy and he goes, you're going to be a star. And that pissed Ronnie off so bad that from that moment on, being Ronnie's best friend, I knew that Sammy was history.
Right.
And I thought Sammy would be the first one to go, not me.
No kidding. So, I mean, listen, I know the legend has it that Ronnie was sometimes difficult to work with, sometimes had a big ego, etc. I mean, but he was the leader of that band. The band was named after him, yet it takes...
Well, that's a story in itself.
Go ahead.
The first name, the band was going to be called White Dwarf. And so we had a vote, right? Ronnie wanted to be called Montrose, obviously. And Sammy wanted to be White Dwarf. He invented the name. He was on a space kick then, as you know. And Denny voted for White Dwarf. And so they all looked at me. And Ronnie looked at me. And he goes, Church, we're starting this band, and I'm on an album that's still in the top 10 in the world. What's it going to be? And so I go, well, I guess it's got to be Montrose.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a slam dunk situation there.
No kidding.
Yeah.
You know, in fact, in Space Station number 5, there's that part where it does get a little psychedelic. Is that a Sammy influence right there?
No, that's Ronnie.
Oh, that is him. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's using a joystick. If you've ever seen the theremin stick.
Oh, right,
you know
right,
what
right.
theremin
Yeah,
is?
theremin. Yeah,
Ronnie had one attached to his guitar.
You hear it on the old the old horror movies. Ooh.
Right. He had it attached to his guitar, and then he used a bag. To
blow into.
Peter Famp, you know that his hit song had
the
that bag.
the talk box. Right.
He used that, and and then as he did that, they took the joystick and ran the joystick on the deck, round and round and round inside the control room.
Oh, when they were doing quad, probably back in the day.
Yeah, but that's how he got that sound.
Right, that swirling sound.
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
But what
and after they had got that, those of us who weren't, just Ronnie and him were doing that part, right? We were done with the song. We were all sitting in, there's a rec room across in Amigo Studios with glass sliding doors, and we're sitting in there. It's funny because we were watching Deep Throat backwards. And so we're laughing like hell. And Ted had discovered something, made the song. The song was done now, and he came running across the studios and smashed into the sliding glass door and knocked himself out.
Well, I heard everybody was doing a little bit of everything back in the day there, so I could see how that happened. And even in his autobiography, he admits it. So it takes a manager basically to tell not the star of the show, but the other guy, you're going to be star, to break that whole thing up.
That's what did it, because Ronnie, as we know by now, Ronnie's ego has taken over everything.
Right.
And the minute he turned to Sammy and said that Sammy was going to be the star, that was the end of it.
Right.
And then we went home from that tour, and a couple weeks later, Ronnie called me up. He said, he called me up the day before, and he said, Church, Jill, his wife, Jill's leaving me. I don't know what to do. And he was all bummed out. Next day, he calls me up and says, well, I decided what I'm doing. I go, oh, yeah. He goes, yeah, I'm changing the band, and you're the first to go.
Oh, wow. That harsh. Really?
Done.
He had issues with depression. Eventually, in about 10 years ago or so, killed himself, shot himself. I understand. Long-term depression issues. Was it a difficult 18 months working with him, or did you see any of that back then?
Well, of course, I worked with him for 5 years before that 18 months stretch there. I knew him really well. No, he was an up-tempo guy and knew he had the talent to make it all the way and stuff. Later on, now this is my opinion. Okay. We did a couple of reunions, and Sammy decided that he was sick of Wabaritas. We're going to do Montrose, and we're going to go out.
And this was what years?
The years he was in the Wabaritas.
Okay, so years. late 80s after Van Halen broke up with Sammy.
Yeah. And so that was in the works. And all of a sudden, Ronnie and Sammy there was business disagreement. Had nothing to do with music. Business disagreement.
Jeez.
They couldn't come to grips with each other.
So Montrose was going to reform.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And so Sammy got fed up with trying to deal business-wise with Ronnie, and he says, well, I'm going to go out and do this other thing, and he got, Joe.
I hesitate to say this because obviously it took money out of your pocket and stuff, but it's almost as if that was the best thing that could have happened to maintain that status of Montrose in that one seminal album. I know there was another one after that, but that album influenced everything up to Van Halen. I understand Van Halen came to you guys basically saying you guys influenced us.
Yes, no question about it. They did. The second album, all but one of the tunes I played on the original masters.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah. And so they started to argue, and Sammy knew he was leaving, so they just had Alan come in and they just took all my bass lines out, put Alan's in.
They replaced your bass lines with another bass player?
With Alan, who was his bass player then. But the thing is that the Montrose band, think about it this way. If it had stayed together, the songwriting ability that Sammy had with the band Montrose again, it would have been
commercial success. Yeah,
we would have been like anybody, like Aerosmith, still together and probably still and stuff. So
once again,
and Ted told Ronnie too. He said you can't replace a Cadillac.
Right. That's too bad.
By the way, we forgot, jumping back to Van, the most famous saying that I got in my career with Van was the night he told Ronnie that he wasn't in the band anymore.
What happened?
He said, I'm having some problems, Ronnie. And Ronnie goes, well, what's wrong? He goes, when the bus stops, somebody's got to get off. Boom.
That was his way of firing Ronnie Montrose.
Yeah. What had happened, we were playing Pauley Pavilion at UCLA.
Yeah.
And that the day before, Ronnie and I decided that we weren't going to do the normal Van Morrison. We were both going to go to the front of the stage and be like hard rockers.
Oh, no.
Van would never allow that. Well, I would have done it, except that at the airport, we were going through the walkway, and these workers had a drill, and these metal things blew into my eye, and I spent the whole day at the UCLA Medical Center, them digging things out of my eye, and when I got up to do the show, I was so drugged out, I couldn't see. I was so drugged out that when Ronnie said, it's time to go, and he's going like this to me to get up to the front, and I didn't, but he did. That was it. Van looked at me, and man, was he ticked.
Hey, guy, listen, man. With the bands that you were in and the guys you played with, how come I got the feeling that wasn't the only time that you were drugged out while on stage? We won't talk about that.
But those drugs, that was what they did is because the stuff was in my eye.
Yeah.
They put this liquid cocaine
To dilate your eye.
And it numbed everything up here.
Yep.
And then they gave me all these painkillers to take. And so I waddled up on the stage that night. But it was still a great show. But that was the end of Ronnie. You don't go to the front, only Van.
Sammy did one more album with Ronnie. You had already been gone. You said you knew that he was leaving. Sammy then forms Dust. Oh, let me ask you real quick. The loss of Ronnie, when you found out, what was your impression? Did you think that was coming?
No. And
was it a surprise to you?
And a lot of people say that he was dealing with depression and stuff. He wasn't really. Well, when he realized that the Montrose thing wasn't going to happen again, right? Started drinking.
Oh.
And that night he was.
I heard I had to write it down because I'm a criminal defense attorney. It was a 0.31 blood alcohol level, which is it's 5 times the legal limit.
Yeah, he was way over. And Ronnie had never been a drinker his whole life.
Oh.
When we went out, you know what he drank? He'll have a Campari and soda.
Or a gentleman's drink.
Not even.
A lady's drink, right? Exactly right.
But anyway, no, that's the sad part about it. And the thing that I guess I can take the liberty to say this, I hope Lisa it would allow me to. He, of course, had been dealing with cancer.
That's right. Oh, that's right.
And if you're dealing with cancer, isn't that the same as depression? I mean, if you got cancer, you're depressed.
Did you stay in contact with the guy?
Well, that's a story in itself. I didn't talk to him for 10 years.
In the end, though, did you guys reconcile?
When we had the first Montrose reunion, Denny and Ronnie didn't think that I would even do it.
Right, Denny Kamrasi, the drummer.
Yeah. They told Sammy, no, church ain't even going to do it. He ain't going to come play with Ronnie. And I just, I'll always be a part of it, so the harsh feelings aside. But no, I didn't talk to him for 10 years. Of course, Sammy didn't either.
Yeah. I mean, listen, regrets after, all these years later, we're now older and it was just a band type thing?
The only regrets I have is that there weren't 5 or 6 Montrose albums.
Yeah, I get it. Sammy eventually leaves. You eventually go over to Sammy. He's in a band, called Dust Cloud? Sammy doesn't come up with
eventually we're going to get to the point of when I have to leave that band too, right?
Right. So we are. Believe me, I know. We're taking it slow here, folks.
Dust Cloud.
Sammy doesn't come up with very good names for bands. I'll tell you that right now. So.
Okay, I told you before. He's on a space kick. Space Station number 5. Space Age Sacrifice. He's on the space kick, and so we're going to name the band Dust Cloud. So we give the artwork to Butch Bridges. He's going to do the artwork, right? So he comes back a couple weeks later with the artwork. And it's a stagecoach going across the prairie with a big dust cloud coming out the back. Not the dust cloud of an exploding nova, right? Oh, so that right there, Sammy realized, wrong name.
That's the image everybody's going to have. Oh, funny.
And so from then on, until I left, it was known as the Sammy Hagar Band.
Okay. I listen, I know you're still friends with Sammy. At some point, do you say, hey, we're a band. This isn't Sammy Hagar. We're all making this music together. Or did you realize, hey, this guy's so huge?
No, the reason it can't be that way is because there really never was a band. Because once again, it started changing right from the get-go.
Right.
Our very first guitar player, Scott Quigley, Scotty Quick, guitar pick, OD'd.
Oh, boy.
The Dust Cloud. Okay, here's Dust Cloud. Sammy and me, Scotty Quick, guitar pick, and little Billy Carmassi, Denny's little brother.
On drums.
Right. And Glenn Campbell. The steel,
Glenn Campbell?
Not the Glenn Campbell from country, but the steel guitar player from Juicy Lucy, if you remember that band, Juicy Lucy.
No, you're
anyway,
you're dating yourself, yeah.
That was Dust Cloud.
Billy Carmassi later went on to Aldo Nova, I understand. Yeah.
And after Scotty's death, that whole band was history. We started from scratch. We did.
You also had Ted Trujillo, who was the uncle of Robert Trujillo from Metallica, right?
Yeah,
Right.
He was on guitar. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Those were tough days.
But eventually he forms the Sammy Hagar Band. Is that almost like hey Ronnie, you had your band named Montrose, I'm going to name my band Sammy Hagar?
Oh yeah. At that time, the era of the individual guy was coming on.
Oh, I get it.
No more bands anymore.
Right.
The guy writes his own songs, plays his own songs, and it's his band, and that was that era, and that was it. But as I said, the first version up until I left was always called the Sammy Hagar Band.
Right.
And that's what all of our gear said and everything else.
Right.
And then he dropped that after
and then it just became Sammy Hagar.
After Van Halen.
Which was basically the second album was called Sammy Hagar, recorded where?
The second album.
Sammy Hagar recorded at Abbey Road.
Yeah, at Abbey Road.
I was there last year recording with Tesla. I was basically a guitar technician.
Great.
What's it like walking into that place? I mean, I know, but tell the audience, for you in the heyday.
Yeah. First of all, having lived in England and in Germany when the Beatles were making their heyday, right, it was important to me. And when you walk in there, it's just, here's the harpsichord that he's played Strawberry Fields on, and here's the room. And the first thing I did, there's two interesting things that happened with the very first day. I walked down to he's giving us the tour. Here's the lunchroom. They open the lunchroom, and guess who's sitting? They're having their lunch. The ones who made Abbey Road, Hank Marvin and Bruce Welch of the Shadows.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it. I walked right over there and said, you're going to think I'm obnoxious, and I know you don't know who the hell I am, but you don't know what an influence you've been on me. I said, because of you, I have a red Stratocaster and a Benson Eckerich baby. And he just looked at me like I was freaking crazy.
The Benson Eckerich, the famous echo machine, yeah.
And the other cool thing about the first day is a good story. On the whole way over from the States, me and Sammy are arguing. See, Sammy didn't smoke pot, right? And he didn't like people that did. And on the way over, we're arguing about, because we're going to Abbey Road, we're arguing about whether Paul McCartney smoked pot or not, right? And I'm going, you better believe he didn't. He goes, no, Church, look at how successful and a good songwriter. He doesn't smoke pot. Anyway, we're arguing this whole thing. Our engineer, Bob Johnson, did 2 Beatles albums, right?
Right.
So we're sitting in the console. First thing I say to him, I want you to answer a question to me. When Paul McCartney walks into this studio right here, does he smoke pot? And he just started laughing. He said, he comes in, the first thing he does is lay it all out on the counter. And Sammy, man, he was all pissed off. I go, all right, Hagar, got you good with that one. And, of course, it's common knowledge that he's an imbiber these days.
Any sightings by any of the Beatles while you were there?
No, not while we were in there. A couple of guys from Pink Floyd came by.
Right, because they recorded their albums there too.
And of course, Alan Parsons,
right,
because he did
engineered
the production on Free Money, a great Patti Smith song that we did on that album.
Wow.
And of course, the drums, like I said, Scott Matthews from the Barbra Streisand Orchestra, but he was also in the Hoodoo Rhythm Devils. He's such an incredible guy. He did a bunch of things with Keith Richards and people like that. I mean, Scott, and like I told you, he gave me my nickname, and we just had a great time together. I really liked Scott.
Were you doing live shows there? Is that why? Why record there? Just for the nostalgia of it? Or who got you there on your second album?
John Carter and Capitol thought it was a good idea simply because, if you remember, the Beatles were on Capitol.
Right.
And so they had access to it. And anything that Capitol was into was part of EMI, so we were basically EMI too.
You got to a few more albums that you were doing, and eventually you record this song on your 1979 album, which got me listening to you guys.
This is IEAT C28
Trans Am. It's a highway wonderland. Yep.
Well, now you've got what I consider probably the best Sammy Hagar band of all the versions we had.
Okay.
It would be Chuck on drums, Gaz Peel, who's Boston's guitar player now, right, on guitar, me and Sammy, just the four of us doing Trans Am.
Wow.
And here's a funny story about Trans Am.
Okay,
he writes Trans Am. Now Pontiac is going to give him a red Trans Am. We have a big show up at Chico.
He was already known as the Red Rocker at the time.
Right, Red Rocker. So they're going to give him a red Trans Am, right? And the ceremony's up at Chico, and Chico is close enough to where we can drive. We don't have to drive our own cars and go home at night, because only a couple hours from the Bay Area. So I decided I'm going to go to Hertz, and I'm going to rent a red Trans Am and piss him off bad. So here I come. Here's the red Trans Am up on a platform during sound check and all that, right? And here I come driving in with a red Trans Am. It just pissed Sammy off so bad. Now on the way home, we're going to race. And so Sammy's real timid. You may think that guy has got balls, but he's timid. This rent-a-car is blowing off the Pontiac version. And you know what happens? In the rearview mirror, I see these headlights, right? And he starts honking his horn, going, "Can ride 55, all this kind of crap." Out the window, this Camaro, because it was 150 miles an hour, just blowing us off down the freeway. And so I just slowed down and
that's too funny.
But yeah, Sammy was really unhappy about that. And then, of course, that one tour we did where we had the front half of the Trans Am and the front half of the Ford Mustang.
Yeah, I was just watching that video last night.
That was a whole lot of fun. That was the tour when all the brassiers started coming up. and he would always, during my solo, he'd always come and tie one around my head.
Well, so this is the solo again that we played at the beginning. And I got a question.
Bill Church on bass. The electric church.
I could hear that over and over and over. I love it. When that happens and that album comes out and you go back home to little baby brother Bobby and all that kind of stuff and your friends, etc. What is it? I'm assuming that was a homage or at least some sort of respect to you that you had been with Sammy all the way through Montrose, et cetera, et cetera. I had never heard a solo, especially on a hard rock album, a solo bass thing. It was always a guitar player's thing.
Or a drummer.
Yeah. Was that something you were regularly doing, or was that basically something we said, we need to put you and spotlight you?
A lot of bands go out and they do their album, right?
Yeah.
My best friends, Boston, who I became huge friends with. I did 18 months on the road with them, so I became really good friends with them. They would do their show, and you couldn't tell you weren't listening to the album.
Right.
We weren't like that at all. Our shows were spontaneous. You never knew what he was going to pull.
Well, you guys had the musicianship, too.
Our stuff wasn't scripted. Sammy's going to take a solo. You don't know whether it's going to be 2 bars or 150 million bars. You just don't, and whatever he's going to do. And we had a lot of visual things that were pretty hip for their time. When we had the 3 rising tiers up into the rafters, we had all these scaffolding way up in the top, and we had these 3 lifting scaffolds on the stage. And they would come down, all the lights would come, and here comes the scaffold, and we're playing away with scaffolds. And all 3 of us would run up into the rafters and play. And me and Gary would come back down, and Sammy would go all around the rafters and stuff. We had a lot of visual effects like that.
And no
that,
safety
by the way,
harnesses
was
back then.
borrowed by Garth Brooks. If you've ever seen Garth Brooks live, he borrows so much from Sammy Hagar. It's funny.
No kidding.
It's almost like watching a Sammy Hagar show, except it's his
funny.
tunes, And then, of course, we had done a New Year's Eve show at the Oakland Coliseum with Hart. Mm-hmm. And Hart had this guitar that came, it was shaped like an Explorer guitar. It came down out of the ceiling with the 2 girls in it, right? And landed there on the stage and stuff. Well, we bought that from them. And we went and played at Cow Palace. I think it was another New Year's Eve night. But anyway, we're at Cow Palace, and here's Sammy way up there, coming down in this guitar, and it stalls halfway down. So we're playing. We can't stop, right? They're stalling. He's trying to figure out what to do and everything else. A half hour later, they finally get
the Spinal Tap moment. Oh
yeah,
gosh.
I had so much fun with Bill Graham's shows. Anyway, this one night we were doing Cow Palace again, and where you parked, it wasn't covered, but it had walls, but it wasn't covered, right? And it rained big time. So we're going home, and here comes Bill, and there's the XK. He is parked there, and he opens the door, and a river flows out of it. And I was with my wife.
Oh, it was a convertible car.
Right, convertible XK. And he's just going, shit. And I just started laughing like crazy at him. Bill was an interesting guy. Here's a great story about Bill. We were doing Winterland.
Yeah.
This is Montrose. And the very first night, just 2 nights at Winterland, back to back. We used to do back-to-back shows in those days, right? 2 nights at Winterland. First night, here's Sammy. He thinks he's Roger Daltrey. So he picks up the microphone stand, right? And he starts swinging it like Roger Daltrey does. Wham! Knocks all the tuning gears off my bass, off my Rickenbacker. Right? And so I'm pissed big time. It was a brand new bass anyway. So we finished the set. Next night, same thing. He starts swinging this thing, right? Only this time, he plants it in the top of my head. I got blood running everywhere, and Bill Graham rushes out, and he's Bill Graham's out there.
Holding your head, checking your head.
Want me to stop the show? Want me to stop the show? And I go, what show? What are you doing? You know? And Ronnie, he comes over and says, what's wrong with you, Church? Get going. You're blowing the show. Anyway, after the show...
Tell him to stop using the microphone stand.
I had to have a bunch of stitches, and then I passed out in I had a concussion where I actually passed out for an hour or so.
Wow. Did he stop doing the Roger Daltrey thing after that?
Yeah, he didn't do it on my side of the stage. And the other thing, too, an interesting thing about Montrose... To tell you how controlling Ronnie tried to be.
Right.
Sammy was not allowed to talk in between songs in Montrose.
Oh, would Ronnie be talking to the crowds?
No, we didn't.
You didn't talk?
No, we were he liked Pullman, like Bad Company and like Free.
You don't talk. You just go to the next song.
Yeah, don't talk. And he wouldn't allow Sammy to talk. And the obvious thing that you see is that, of course, Sammy never played guitar in Montrose, and Sammy's a great guitar player.
Sammy's a great guitar player, right?
Not allowed to play guitar.
Wow.
And not allowed to talk. It's sort of like Rod Stewart. If you remember when Rod Stewart was in Jeff Beck's band. Yeah. He came way off to the side of the stage, and Jeff Beck band's over here. Is not allowed to talk, so they had to stop there. That's a funny thing. Another thing about Rod Stewart, I saw him once when he was in the Faces, and he's getting booed off the stage.
Rod Stewart.
Right. And he goes up to the mic and goes, we really are a good band, And I'm standing over and go, wow, that's funny. That's real weird. Of course, he wasn't the star in the Faces because Steve Marriott was.
And I always remember those videos of him that he would just sort of walk back towards the drummer and just hang out by the drummer, not say anything. Okay, I noticed a distinct difference in Standing Hampton when I started listening to it, and it almost sounded, and I'm going to play a little bit of something from Standing Hampton. Which, There's Only One Way to Rock, which I thought was the hit from Standing Hampton, but it wasn't. It was I'll Fall in Love, became a '2 hit. It had I'll Fall in Love, There's Only One Way to Rock, Baby's on Fire, Can't Get Loose, and then Heavy Metal, great song in and of itself, Heavy Metal. Standing Hampton seemed to be a big departure, big change in the sound, and it almost sounds like it could have been... I hate to mention this because it's a bad subject for you, but it sounds like it could have been Sammy and Van Halen together. It had a very pop yet driving hard rock sound. Uh-oh. Here's where it all goes south, folks. I mentioned the wrong name.
They actually, in my opinion, I don't think Van Halen could have done that album. For various reasons. The way that they do drums, number one.
It is course, straight ahead, more pop, obviously.
And I don't... It's hard to reveal secrets and stuff, but I'm not sure how Eddie's bass player would have been on it.
Yeah, oh, that's true, because he did most of the bass playing on it. Yeah,
and I
on
don't
his
like
stuff.
saying things like that because Mike Anthony's a really good friend of mine.
I understand. Yeah, and Mike Anthony said he was influenced by Montrose too, and I'm assuming by your bass playing. You guys have been friends. He's been very nice to you, right?
Oh, he's a great guy. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
He's a really great guy. And the thing about it is, Ted was on the spot with Warner Brothers after we broke up, because Warner Brothers was not expecting us to last one album in and out, right?
Right.
Well, we had signed a 5-album deal to begin with.
Right.
And so Ted was on the spot, so he went after a band that was the same lineup as Montrose.
To do Sammy Hagar
front
band.
singer,
Okay.
guitar, bass.
Did you feel with Standing Hampton, you guys were hitting your stride, that this is it? You guys are going to the top, basically.
Yeah,
you had a number.
We were starting to push, and then right in the middle of that is when MTV started to happen.
Well, and thank you for leading me into it, because MTV had this. All right, everybody remembers that one.
And the thing about it is, we were one of the few bands using full 60M, like real films, like Hollywood films.
Oh, when you guys were doing those videos.
Real expensive to do, yeah. We weren't using video. We were we were filming it. A lot of fun doing that. And of course, MTV really just made that album explode for us.
Did it seem funny for you, being a musician, especially being the bass player, always in the background, for you to be out in front on camera like that? Was it a different thing?
No, not always in the background. In Montrose and in the Sammy Hagar band, I had my own area equal to the guitar player on the other side.
Oh, no. I don't mean it. That's funny that you say that, because I don't mean it that way. I play bass too. I play guitar and bass, and I love it.
There are certainly bands where the bass player's in the background,
right?
Not up front. There are bands like that, but not the bands I.
But what I'm saying is, I've always seen, you know what? It's funny. I never thought of it this way. I always thought it as, I'm in the groove with the drummer, whether I'm standing out front or I'm in the back, and we are the underground, the hidden magic of the band. The guitar player's out being flashy and showing off, but we're just holding it down. And that's why I was saying, when you come out on MTV, now everybody's out front. They got the goofy drummer that's acting up and stuff like that. Was it a different thing for you?
Well, with MTV, see, our videos, we weren't playing very much.
Right.
We were acting.
You guys are all running around being goofy and stuff, I remember.
I mean, VOA doing that video was so much fun. All I did was shoot machine guns and throw grenades out the back of the truck and stuff. So much fun doing that. Going to shoot that, by the way, I rode out in one of the mock CHP cars that were going to chase us in the video. And we're on the freeway, and the real CHP pulls us over. And we're a bunch of actors with the actor's car, right?
See, I didn't know if it was something that a musician goes, ugh, I can't stand doing this, or if it really was fun.
It was fun. And doing 55, I mean, we're down there in the pits with a million Ferraris, and we're driving Ferraris around this. I mean, it was just a blast.
You know, that song was so popular, and I just thought, I hadn't even thought about this in years and years. I'm at the gas station on the north end of town that was near the Agape Club back in the day. There was a 7-Eleven up there, and I'm getting gas. I'm driving my brother's red Charger. I had a perm in my hair, and my hair was down to here, and it was blonde and everything. And I remember hearing basically the guy inside the 7-Eleven could talk to you at the gas pump, and I hear, excuse me, sir? I said, yes. He goes, excuse me, sir, can I ask you, are you Sammy Hagar? I said, no, I'm not Sammy Hagar. And it was right around, I can't drive 55 with the red car and all that kind of stuff.
By the way, I permed my hair like that one tour. My ex-wife, was Sammy's hairdresser. And I had her make hair like him one year, and boy, I couldn't wait to get rid of it. Now, speaking of being mistaken, how about Sammy being mistaken for somebody? We're in London. This is Montrose now. We're in London, and the very famous club, the Speakeasy. We were down at the Speak, and we came in, and the guy at the front, when he saw us, he goes, "Oh, we were going to go see the Crickets, Buddy Holly's band,
Okay.
the Crickets.
Wow.
Anyway, the guy at the door, he says, "Oh, your table's waiting for you right down front." So he ushers us all right down to the front table, right?
Yeah.
And so we're watching the show and everything else. And about 2 or 3 songs into it, here comes the club manager. He says, "You guys have to move. You're not Roger Daltrey."
He was mistaken for the Who.
He was
and Roger
mistaken
Daltrey.
for Roger Daltrey.
Oh, too funny.
That is really funny.
Van Halen eventually loses David Lee Roth, and they hire the new singer, your singer,
Well,
Sammy Hagar. How'd you find out about that?
Yeah, that's a really good story. The last gig that I played with the Sammy Hagar Band was Willie Nelson's Farm Aid in Illinois, with a bunch of great acts on the show. And out of nowhere, jumping onto the stage, here's our guest guitar player, Eddie Van Halen. And so, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, right.
You know, coming out to jam, we
They were
jam. You know,
huge.
Ted Nugent used to jam with us all the time. You know, they jam. But I look out, and there's all these banners that Ed, my manager, late manager, rest in peace, Ed, had paid all these people to hold up these banners that he had made called Van Hagar.
I remember that.
So I looked out and I go, something happening here. And so at the end of the show, we went backstage and that was it. That was it. 2 things happened. I didn't fly home with them. I took first class Amtrak and said, "Fuck you guys, see you later, you're out of here." And I blew a big opportunity. Watching this whole thing come down, because me and Sammy were having words outside the dressing room, and Betsy was there too, and we were having words about it and stuff. Standing right there, backstage at Farm Aid, all these Quonset huts are where the acts had their backstage, right? And the Quonset hut next to us, standing there watching this whole thing, was Alias.
Alias.
And I to this day, kick myself in the butt for not walking right over and go, "You know, I just got fired from this huge band. Can I be in your band?" Alias, Bob Dylan.
Oh.
To this day, I go, why didn't I just walk over there and present myself? Because he loved Van Morrison.
Right.
Van loved him. In Bob Dylan's songs, you can find a lot of influence from Van, because Bob Dylan's not, as well known, not a great vocalist, but you
Right.
can hear some of the things he borrowed from Van. But anyway, that was the last gig as the Sammy Hagar Band.
Did Sammy come in his black Testarossa to your mom's house and have a meeting with you guys? I heard something about that.
He didn't come to my mom's house.
Okay.
He came to, he drove into a neighborhood I lived in a black Testarossa, and caused quite a fuss on the neighborhood is all.
But was that part of I'm leaving and I'm going to be with Van Halen?
No.
Or you already knew it by that point?
Yeah, it was all right. It was done. That last show, that was it.
Hey, looking back on it, do you blame the guy?
Yeah. Because in the end, he himself was bigger than Van Halen, and would have been not really even consequential to him in his own career had the Sammy Hagar Band stayed together. The Van Halen albums that he did, irregardless of how successful they were, they don't do a whole lot for me, and there's a lot of songs on them that I just really don't even like.
Yeah.
And of course, Sammy and Eddie, you can tell from their show, here's Eddie for an hour and 15 minutes, and now here comes Sammy, play acoustic and do that.
And do his thing.
Do his thing.
So it never was a cohesive thing to you, in your opinion?
In my opinion.
And I think you're right. I never thought of it that way. Sammy was on top of the world. I mean, he had that number 2 hit.
Here is
an MTV success.
Here is what put us into the position. The 18 months that we did setting records of attendance and shows, like when we did Dallas, 5 shows. We went to do 2.
Right.
Sold out so fast, 3, 4, were the 18 months that we played as the opening act for Boston.
Oh, my gosh.
That's what made us. We stole those shows from a standpoint of live rock and roll party time, And then on top of us, they got to have Boston, and their first album, one of the hugest albums ever.
Absolutely.
It's still the biggest debuting rock album ever. The first year it sold 5 million.
Wow.
It's the biggest debut album ever. And I got to be great friends with them, especially Sib. Rest in peace, Sibby. Sibby and I were lifetime friends. They're great guys.
Yeah, the drummer for Boston. Yeah.
And great stories with the 18 months of being out with them.
How long, I heard about your thing with Montrose, how long did you not talk to Sammy?
Actually, Sammy and I kept talking and stuff.
Yeah.
I was only pissed at him for a while in terms of not talking to him.
So you remain friends with him?
Yeah, it was, here's a guy, a businessman, and he's making a business decision to be bigger.
Right, absolutely.
So go do it.
Yeah.
And of course, in my career,
and he didn't take the Floyd Rose decision.
And I got ousted from every band I was in. I mean, what's the difference?
That's where my mom would say, "Bill, maybe it's you." No. No.
Yeah, I tell you. Well, in a lot of cases, it does get to be down on an individual level,
right.
With Ronnie, like I say, there were certain things that got on my nerves about him, and certain things that got on his nerve about me, just from having been friends for so long. And also, I was heavily influenced in my life by Jaco Pastorius, and because he played on a lot of her records, I was into Joni Mitchell. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, Ronnie did not like me listening to that kind of music even. The same with, I really liked the Bee Gees. He'd get all pissed off if I'd get in the limo and I've got the Bee Gees going.
Hey, you and me, Bill, I love that stuff.
So there were just certain things, and I was really sick and tired. I'd get in the limo, and him and Denny every day, it's AC/DC, you know what I mean? And that's a band, that's a great band, but if every one of their albums don't sound the same, then I give up.
After Van Halen, Sammy comes back. You talked about how he wanted to do this super group again. He eventually joins Chickenfoot. You said Michael Anthony was great with you. At one point, playing on stage, Michael Anthony actually called you out from the wings and says, "I want you to play this." It's they were going to play Rock Candy or something like that.
Yeah, he handed me his bass and said, "Here, come play this." And I said, "No, it's your trip."
But he respected you that much that
of course
he knew you were an innovator with that, and
it's mutual respect. I mean,
wow.
Come on, no matter what anybody thinks about Mike Anthony, he's in one of the biggest rock bands there ever was. So.
Did you ever try after that to get in with anybody else, or were you done with the music business at that point?
Oh no, I had my band. The Bank, not my band, Bob Banks' band, the Banks Project.
Right.
That consisted of Bob Banks and me, Kevin Carlson, the guitar player from Aldo Nova,
right?
John Nyman from Y&T, and we had two drummers, Leonard Hayes at first, and then Chuck Ruff.
Leonard, I loved watching that guy play. We opened shows for them way back in the day. I loved it.
They're together to this day. The living ones.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
All really close friends of mine. In fact, after Ronnie died, Sammy decided to do reunions where we would do the Montrose reunions with guest guitar players. The first one was with Joe Satriani. But we did one down at the Yacht Club in San Francisco with Dave Meniketti.
Oh, yeah, from Y&T, right.
And he's a lot of fun. He's a great guitar player, and he is definitely a hard rocking guy. All close friends of mine. And then what I did was I went country again, and I had my band 20X for about a year and a half. I moved out to Brentwood, California, and had my band 20X. And then I came back to Fresno and did my last project before I retired, and I retired because my guitar player passed away. That would be my band, the DHC band,
right.
my Fresno band with Tom Davis on the drums and Lee Perry Hodge on guitar.
Oh, Lee.
And after
By the way, I own Perry Hodge's 1953 Telecaster that he sold to me back in the 80s.
I'll be darned.
That he always wanted back, and I said,
sure.
can't do it. Great player.
We did a really good album.
Wow.
It's still selling on Amazon.
Under the DHC band?
Yeah, the DHC band.
I'm going to look it up.
And it's a really good album. And then when Perry passed away, that's when I decided that I wasn't really going to pursue anything.
Yeah. We're going to wrap it up here in a little bit, but there's one thing, and I got to bring it up because I think it is just a testament to you and your dedication to rock and roll, and it's something that most people don't know. And I asked you ahead of time, is it something that we could discuss on the air? Is that you did all these great bands, all these great recording sessions, all this touring on the biggest of big stages, Madison Square, Carnegie Hall, did all those things on MTV. You said it had the scaffolding that would rise up and down, et cetera, et cetera. And what people don't know about you is you did this all with and I don't want to say affliction, but you did this all with something that you contracted when you were 8 years old. You did it all with the disabilities of polio.
Yes. I've been through a pandemic just like we're doing right now. Unfortunately, I was part of that one when I was 8 years old. I was in England at the time. And I ended up spending 8 months in the hospital.
8 months in the hospital as an 8-year-old kid.
Yeah. And the end result is I was lucky because I wasn't afflicted like a lot of them were. A lot died.
Yep.
A lot end up on iron lung all their life, and a lot of them were completely paralyzed to where they have to wear a brace on every limb and stuff. So I was lucky just to have it affect my leg.
And you've always had, I hate to, for lack of a better word, a bum leg where you've had limp and you had to do this all on stage and do all those tours all that time.
Yeah, it's funny because you tend to meet people that have the same problems, right? So I meet all these people that do. One of the Champlin brothers, Donnie.
Right.
I mean, both his legs, and he would come up with his crutches and his legs up on the stage, throw the crutches away, and several others. So.
I mean, it's basically a testament that you could be a rocker no matter what. You could do it.
Oh, yeah. To anybody who has a disability of any kind, don't even look at it like a disability. Go do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Do it with verve and vigor.
You played on American Bandstand. I got my producer looking at me because all the video recorders are running out of time here. So you played on American Bandstand, did Don Kirshner's rock concert. You saw Def Leppard before they were famous, basically, and thought the drummer Rick Allen was the greatest, and you called your brother and told him they were going to be the best.
Def Leppard, it was a great story. We were in England, and our opening act shit-canned on us. And so we asked around, and this guy turned us on to Def Leppard, and the deal was they would come open our English show, and when we went back for the American tour, they could be our opening act.
Wow.
The rest is history for them.
Well, speaking of history, you are rock and roll history. You've done it all. You've seen a million things, and regardless of money or fame, you got basically one shot on this earth, and you made your mark. I got to say it. It's been a pleasure having you on. This has been Bill Church, the Electric Church.
Well, I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. I do want to say before we go that I have signed a deal with Martin Popoff to do my biography. He's starting on it on the 15th of this month, and we hope to have it out by the end of the summer. So buy the book, y'all.
Check out Bill Church and his autobiography. That's hopefully coming out by the end of the year. It's Bill Church, the Electric Church, one of my heroes. This has been the Marc Kapetan Show on KMJ.
Bye, y'all.
Hey folks, it's Marc Kapetan. Are you looking to grow your business or stay informed? The Business Journal delivers local exclusive business news you won't find anywhere else. Subscribe now at thebusinessjournal.com or call 559-490-3481. Subscribe. I do.